West, with an early election at least on the table following the release of the budget, a proposed redistribution is likely to pit Energy Minister Chris Bowen against very popular independent Di Lee. And he looks to be getting more Labor-aligned suburbs as part of the shake-up. The redistribution was triggered when the number of members in the House of Reps for New South Wales dropped from 47 to 46 last year. And it's not the only redistribution. There's a number of them happening around the country. For her take, the woman in the hot seat, the member for Fowler, Di Lee. Di, great to have you on the program, but I have to say you must be good at your job because you've got Labor choosing to take you on over this redistribution option rather than a Teal seat.
Yeah, look, there must be concern with the present boundaries, I have no doubt. And obviously, with the energy prices, it's a big issue out here in Western Sydney and in particular my Fowler community. Look, that's Labor's proposal. I mean, my suggestion to the AEC was to retain the current electorate, because I love representing my Fowler community, which stretches from the Liverpool CBD right up into the majority of suburbs within Fairfield City Council area. So these two electorates, as you know, Peter, there was a big no vote at the last Voice campaign. So there must be concern for them to be suggesting this. Whether or not the AEC will take on board the Labor Party suggestions or any major party suggestions is up to the AEC. But I hope that the AEC is independent enough to make their own decision on the boundaries, how to be drawn the boundaries.
Mm-hmm. We think that, well, I agree with you. Across the board, we hope the AEC is independent, doesn't favour one side of politics over the other, because we obviously need to have boundaries that are beyond reproach, that we're not in a gerrymander sort of situation in this country. It's interesting you pointed out that the no vote there in Western Sydney really significantly went against the government, went against the Prime Minister. There's reports that the PM and the Treasurer are going to spend a fair amount of time in Western Sydney this week selling their budget. I think the Voice and the result from the Voice is really why they're putting the effort in out there. The budget, if you look at the polls out today, hasn't boosted them perhaps like they'd hoped. Give us a sense, Di, how's the budget gone down in your community?
Well, surprisingly, you asked me that question because I actually went door knocking today. I have been door knocking for the last few weeks, and it's surprising, renters, pensioners, owners, homeowners are talking about how much they're struggling, even for couples. And I said, what do you think of the government's $300, rebate that's offered? They said that's going to be disappearing in a puff, because that $300 doesn't keep up with the increase in food costs, groceries, shopping, electricity increase, insurance coverage increase as well as mortgage and rent. So and childcare, by the way, I was surprised, people were telling me that sending their kids into childcare has gone up, even though the government did promise cheaper childcare. So I'm going to look into that, because a couple said there's no point in them working part-time, because increasing their salary means that they have to actually increase in the childcare costs. So people are actually feeling it and going out there knocking. And, if the Prime Minister and the Treasurer are visiting Western Sydney, can I suggest they come to Fowler, which I believe is the heart of Western Sydney, and they have not reached out to me, and I hope they come and see Fowler and visit out here, because it is community that's really representing the microcosm of the struggles of families, small business, working Australian students, you name it, it is here in our community in Fowler.
Given the multicultural nature of Western Sydney in particular, I've got to ask you, immigration, we heard from the opposition leader last Thursday night saying that there would be a 25% cut if he was elected. Polls today, close to 70% of voters saying last year our numbers, our intake was way, way too high. You're an electorate of migrants. It can be interesting how they feel about migration, not always as you might think it would be. Any reaction from your electorate?
Look, we are one of the most multicultural and multi-faith electorates in the country. And I'm a Oh, as a refugee. So, and many of my team are from migrant and refugee backgrounds. So we understand very much that journey and that the opportunities that Australia has offered. But in door knocking, people have said, perhaps we need to slow it down. They understand we need to resettle. In Fairfield City, I don't know if you know this, Peter, but we've settled out of the 12,000 refugees that came to Australia in the last 7 years. At least 10,000 were resettled here in Fairfield City Council, which makes up the majority of Fowler electorate. So we actually, our community have really shoulder the burden of refugee settlement with no extra additional resources. I mean, I get people telling me about, our train, which is part of state government, of course, but has not been improved. We get old trains, roads. Our hospital hasn't been upgraded since 1989. All our other major hospital is really, under-resourced as well. So we've got all of these challenges whereby we've had 10,000 out of 12,000. So people are saying to me, we are migrants, we understand that, but we need to plan it and manage in a way so that our community, our families here do not have to struggle. Rent is high and not enough affordable housing for us, for families here. They can't save to buy their first home.
As I said, it's not always a predictable issue with migrant communities. Di, that's a massive resettlement job Fairfield's done. I think that'll play out in the election, absolutely. Thank you for your time. Good luck beating the Labor machine when they get the pen out and they draw those boundaries. Thanks, Di Lee.